welcome back past Governor Caroline Williams to manage the stress of change she has there on slide 1. So welcome back, past Governor Caroline.
Unmute. Now I've got it. Well, everyone, this is a huge topic and we don't have a lot of time left either, but so I will be kind of pressing through some of this information. But as we mentioned earlier, we've been through a lot in the past year and a half together and in our communities and in our families. And we probably are pretty good at adaptation by now and having to change the way we do things or the way we approach certain things in our daily lives. So I'm sure that we will all be able to have good positive feelings about this presentation about managing the stress of change. So when you hear the word change, what does that do to you? You know, I guess tonight is going to be kind of a rhetorical question, but could it be fear or anxiety or frustration? Do you become depressed when you hear the word change? Well, I did a little research and I found in some studies that 1 in 3 individuals would avoid change if they could. And that's probably a real truism. 1 in 4 individuals say they cannot accept failure if they try something and do not succeed. And goodness knows, I think I've had enough failure in things that I've tried through the years, but you know, you kind of have to learn how to keep going. Almost 1 in 3 individuals say that if they do not see immediate results for their efforts, they usually give up and do something else. But I can give a personal note, and that is that when Governor Michelle and I were attending the our Governor's Roundtable meeting in Montreal in 2019, we were sitting on opposite sides of the room during one particular session, and they asked all those that had positive feelings about change to stand up. And these were the governors and governors-elect. And there were probably, 50 people in the room, and 8 of us stood up. And Michelle and I both stood up. So that was a positive thing. We both see the value in effective change. But change can involve personal life changes that we're likely to experience, such as marriage, a new job, moving, the loss of a loved one, birth of a child. And then I added a pandemic because we've experienced something totally different that I don't think any one of us had any experience in before. But organizations such as Soroptimist undergo change. We do it all the time. We do it to achieve our goals, to be able to move from where we are to where we want to go. And if Soroptimist is to maintain its position as a leading organization, volunteer organization for women and girls, then we have to be able to adapt, to change, to innovate, and to move forward. Now, I learned many years ago when JD and I were dating about change and how one thing happens immediately and another thing how you have to transition into change. You see, change happens in a short period of time. And I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. But we manage stress, the stress of change, by making sure we have a clear vision. We have to define the vision of where we're going, what we expect, and where we want to be. And of course, we need involvement from everyone in our organization to put together this vision. And if you remember when we came up with our goal for 2031, where do we want to be? Well, we're trying to reach 500,000 of women and girls through access to education. SIA asked the clubs and the members, where do we want to go? What were the important things to us? We have to understand the difference between change and transition. And I'm going to explain that with an example in just a minute. We have to understand why change and transition can fail, and then recognize that sometimes we just don't go from, okay, we're going to make the change and boom, there's the change. That there are some stages that people go through when you're faced with change and transition. So change is an event. It's a new beginning, and it happens quickly, and it's experienced externally and visibly. Whereas transition is a slower process that takes time. It's when you leave something behind and you come into that new thing, and it's experienced internally. So my example of change, the event, is something that was on a prior screen. It's called marriage. And when JD and I were dating, he had his 5th knee operation because he was a college football player, and he was always having to go back and rehab and do things from all of that football experience that he had. And so being in the field of fitness and wellness, he asked me as we were dating, how could he, after he had this operation, come back and never miss a beat with his running, because he loved to run avidly. And I told him to get in the deep water and run, with a belt, so that he wouldn't have to pound on the pavement when they allowed him to, and his cardiorespiratory system would be right where he wanted to be. And 6 weeks after he did it, he came back to me and he said it worked. He went out and ran on that track, and he never missed the beat. But later on, he proposed, we got married, and where I was a genius before, since that day, I haven't had a lick of sense, y'all. So that is my story about a change in events. I was the smart cookie, and I went to a unintelligent individual in 15 minutes, because that's how long it took to say our vows. That's just my change event. One of the things that you'll notice when you have a change process is there are some obstacles that can get in the way. Does anything strike you about this pie chart? And I point to that which is 33%. It's the human factor that can cause issues with change and transition. It can cause it to fail. Now, there are other things like external market factors, which could be a pandemic. It could be financial factors, technological issues, or just the whole process of conducting the change. So we have to take into consideration that one of the most overwhelming factors are us. We might not like it. And 50% of the human factor is resistance to change. Now, of course, you can have skill issues. You can lack motivation because you don't see the value in the change. And maybe management is not involved as they should be. But resistance is one of the critical things that we have to overcome when going through a change process. So while we may not be practicing psychologists or have studied behavior change or emotional change, people rarely go from one thing to the other in a straight line. There are usually a lot of deviations. In my field, when people want to change behavior, it takes a long time. Some people are not even thinking about it, and then all of a sudden they have to make changes, and it's a long process. Well, it is in business as well. And these are some of the stages of change that you could go through. Denial, which sounds like, I think I'm going to wait this out. It probably won't last too long. And if I ignore it, it might just go away. But since it won't probably go away, one of the things that we can do to help people out of denial is to point out the positive and be good role models and express understanding of what they're going through. There's resistance, and these are the two critical ones. Resistance can be, well, we've been doing it this way for years and it's been working, so why do we have to change? So here you have to separate fact from fiction, explain how it might not have been working as well as we wanted it to, and help them see the positives and move forward. The neutral zone is where it's, what do I do? I can't, I'm a little bit afraid. I don't want to make mistakes. What if I can't do it? We have to move them into the next phase, which is the positives, from exploration and into commitment, so that they're open to possibilities, so that they see the benefit, and so that they're ready, willing, and able to take the chance to make the change. So these are my quick tips. Communicate the vision, okay? And ask for input. We have to have input from our team members. And here's where communication comes back in to make this all very important. Share the importance of change. Why are we doing it? If we're doing it just for change's sake, well, it might not be the right thing to do, but why is it important? Create the team involvement, ask for input, and make sure that people feel valued and that we listen to them. Beware of those obstacles that we pointed out. Make sure that you are monitoring the stages of change, because people don't move at the same pace. Some people will go straight from, or rather quickly, if not straight from it, but quickly through them and just say, yeah, that's great. I get it. I'm ready. And others will drag their feet. Lead by example. Remember, actions speak louder than words. And then celebrate your successes in the end. So finally, all change is not progress, but progress is change. So make sure that, what you choose to change will create progress, that it's valid and that people buy. That's what you want. You want your team to buy in. And that's it. Thank you.